Welcome to the Miseducation of Marriage. As you see, we were on a brief hiatus because we have a brand new podcast studio.
All right.
It's beautiful. So we're glad to be back with you guys. And today we got an interesting episode.
Yeah, today we're going to discuss who taught you about marriage. We're going to talk about that, the things that come up in life, things that came up in life that maybe taught you what marriage is about, family, everything. Your life's view on marriage, right?
So, Raphael, who taught you about marriage?
Well, I can't say that my parents actually said this is what marriage is. You know?
Right. Most people can't.
Right.
When you think about things that we're taught in life, we're taught chores, we're taught education, we're taught different things, but who actually teaches us about about marriage, I'm sorry. And it's funny that we learn these lessons without even being specifically taught about marriage. And what do I mean by that? We learn through movies.
Yeah, that's true.
TV shows.
That is true.
Books.
That's
just
true.
Watching family.
That's
watching
true.
What not to do.
And I think that's where I kind of
like
learned.
Yeah.
I learned from watching family. Saw my dad in the house, my mom in the house, and I said, okay, this must be what marriage is about.
Yep.
There's no specifics. Do you think there should be?
There should be some specifics about what marriage is about, but those specifics may look different from person to person. The principles will be there the same. But
what would you say the principles of marriage are? They're just, if you can name three things.
I don't want to narrow it down to three because there's a lot.
Yeah, but there's some basic foundational things that every marriage needs to have. Right?
Okay, so we'll talk about what those basic things are because I know where we all have to begin. But just seeing things like you grew up, mom and dad,
right,
in the house. I didn't grow up like that. So when I looked at marriage, I saw my mom do her thing to raise three kids.
Right.
At the time, there were three of us, and I saw just us working together. Whatever had to be done, get it done. There was really no talk of marriage in the household or even in the church I went to. You saw married people, but there was no talk of it. I saw maybe like, if I imagined marriage, it would probably be like what was on the Cosby Show.
Right.
Cliff and Claire Huxtable.
Correct.
Everybody know Cliff and Claire Huxtable. So that was like maybe one of the first things I would say that's what the marriage is supposed to look like.
Right.
And then I saw like relationships aunts, uncles had, grandparents had, and it was kind of I don't know if I want that, or I don't want that, or
so
maybe I do want
trial
that.
And error marriages.
And then of course our favorite Disney movies.
Yeah.
You know, Prince Charming, somebody coming to save you. So that was kind of like the things that I viewed marriage as. Because think about it, in churches, pretty much a lot of churches don't teach on marriage. Correct. And like the real of marriage.
Right. And I think that's why it's important that we have this type of podcast. It kind of identifies the differences between kind of what you grew up understanding or knowing or learning through trial and error, through trauma and error.
Trauma and error.
Right? Trauma and error. Or and then to look at what the scripture tells us, to look at what good examples taught us as well. We, like you said, the Huxtables was a very good example TV-wise, but they did deal with some everyday practical things about marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Their life was a little on that show was a little bit more not highfalutin, but the word I'm looking for, bougie.
Bougie. They were bougie.
They were a little bougie, but I mean it was good because we got to see what that looks like. But I think it did.
You will get in trouble in the comments.
Yeah, I probably will. But but when you doing it right, sometimes it can look that way. I think people would say our marriage is like that. Kind of
bougie. Marriage is bougie. That is hilarious. I don't know. I think that the way we came into our marriage, okay, early on, because again, we were not taught about marriage, just our life experiences and what we've seen. So it was funny because I was doing kind of my thing, and then you were doing kind of your thing. You had expectations based on what you've seen. I had expectations based on what I've seen, and y'all, it was rough in the beginning. He would be sitting there like waiting for me to cook dinner and get home and do this and do all the traditional wife stuff where I didn't grow up like that seeing that. So I would come home and after working, if I'm hungry, I'm gonna go eat. And then I get home and he'll be like, "Well, what's for dinner?" I'm like, "I don't know. I ate already. You ain't eat yet? Cause I ate." And it felt like, dang.
Like
but I grew up in a household where it was like, okay, everybody kind of come together, feel free. So if it's time to eat, make sure y'all eat, and make sure you do this, make sure you do that. So it was very different for us to learn what our expectations are, because really when you see things like the Huxtables and you see things like the Disney movies or the books and even some love songs and stuff. Oh my gosh, you begin to build these expectations
I think they're unrealized expectations.
Yeah.
Because I saw that growing up. My mom did do that. She came home from work. She would cook for us, mainly because my dad did work second shift. So he was pretty much, by the time my mom got home, he was most likely gone to go to work. Mm-hmm. So when she came home, she had to cook for the kids because we were there. So she cooked and she did all that. Mm-hmm. But I did see a specific breakdown or a distinction between genders in terms of chores.
Yeah.
And I think what we ran into was there were certain chores that we didn't identify early on in our marriage as this is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. So in my household, I grew up, the boys mainly worked outside. Girls would go outside, cut grass. They didn't go out there and sweep the dirt, as we say. Make the dirt look nice.
That's wild.
Gather the sticks and burn them. We didn't. My dad, we did that. We worked all day in the backyard, and then we went to go out and play. The girls were in the house cleaning the bathrooms, sweeping them out. Well, guys would mop the floors, but the girls would clean the bathrooms, clean the kitchens. That's their chores. And so in cooking, I didn't learn this until later because my dad worked second shift. But I didn't realize my dad did do a lot of cooking. Mm-hmm. He just did it on the weekends. Mm-hmm. But we were out playing, so I didn't notice that. So in my mind, mom cooks. Mm-hmm. Right? Dad cooks when it's time to barbecue.
He was a big surprise when we got married.
So when we got married, I came in with the expectation that that's what marriage is. Marriage is what I saw. Mm-hmm. The breakdown of chores. That's what it boiled down to for me.
And we had kind of a breakdown of chores, but everybody did everything.
Correct.
So it was like, it's your week to cook, it's your week to do dishes, it's your week to take out trash, it's your week to mop, it's your week to do this, it's your week to do that. So it was like, if I'm doing it, you're doing it too.
But it wasn't clarified. We didn't clarify.
No. Right? I mean, when I was growing up.
Oh, well, you was growing up. Okay.
That's how it was with us. It's like we had a chore chart, a chore calendar, keep everybody on point.
So you guys recycled your chores?
We recycled the chores.
So if it was your week to do this, you switched the next week.
I switched the next
week. Wow.
We did like a little chore. We literally had a chore calendar. And it was so funny because if you did not do your chore that day, you would get in trouble and write your name on the calendar because you're going to have to make that day up. It was a whole thing. God. And it was a whole thing, even with cooking, even with cooking, although my brother, he cooks the most and he cooks the best. So he used to cook a lot for us. And but we did everything like chipping in together. So like when we started working, when we were younger, like about 16 is when I kind of got my first job. But when I started working, it was like, all right, before I come home, if I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. So then I don't have to worry about dinner. So then everybody else, when they get home, y'all hungry, you just go in there and you fix you something to eat.
Correct.
It wasn't we're going to sit down and do dinner. unless we were dawn on us the traditional way of seeing mom, dad household,
Right.
doing stuff like that.
Everybody had to do everything because mom had to.
Everybody had to do everything because, especially helping her out. We was just like a team.
Correct.
Even when she did get remarried, it was still the same way.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what my idea was with marriage. It was like, oh, that's just like a TV thing, or if I do get married, then it'll be like a fairy tale.
But what fairy tale did you think?
There was always, the Cinderella, the Snow White, Prince Charming.
But what did that look like in marriage in your mind?
I don't know. He come and save you. And you go and live in a castle.
Hey,
I was wrong.
Can you imagine us living in a castle?
I was wrong. Oh my God. You get married and everything will be okay. Everything is fixed. And it's like, child,
No.
When we got married, it was so, it was a hot mess then, but it was funny because we were figuring things out.
When we got married, it was two people living together. And that's what it was.
It was.
Just two people thrown together, living together.
Who didn't know nothing. And mind you,
right.
guys, we've been married 34 years now, but when we got married, we were 18 and 19.
We were babies.
Just take a moment to reflect on yourself at 18 and 19. Can you imagine being married then? But we were figuring it out. But I know the one thing that we always said, because we both back then were Christian, living,
Yeah, we still Christian today, right?
We still Christian, by the way. I guess I shouldn't have said it like that, but some 18 and 19 year olds be wilding out. But we were saying living saved, but we just said we just got to make God the foundation. That's all we knew was make God the foundation.
And we didn't even know what really that meant. But
we said it.
But we said it.
We said
it. What one thing do you think we got right outside of making God the foundation?
I think we had made a rule early on in our marriage because neither one of us knew how to talk to each other.
Correct.
Like we were wild by the mouth. We would just talk to each other any kind of way. But we made a decision that when we have a disagreement, we would write it down and then exchange notes.
Right.
Because we didn't know how to talk to each other. And in marriage, especially in the beginning, when you're trying to figure out how to really become one, you don't know. You pretty much fight to win and not fight to resolve the situation or the disagreement that you're having.
Right.
So you don't really have those skills on how to really communicate and work together. And so we said we can't keep doing this. So we agreed, let's write it down and then exchange. Write it down. Say it like you want to say it. We chose in our marriage in the beginning, very beginning, don't candy coat anything.
That's right.
Say it like you want to say it, however you hear it in your head, say it like that. Because a lot of times we spend time trying to fix it up in our head, and then next thing you know, the point is missed. So that's what we did for our marriage. I'm not saying you can't do that in your marriage, don't try that in your marriage.
Right.
But do what works for you in your marriage. But I think that was a pivotal point in us just kind of talking it out.
And I think that was a good principle. I know you say if it doesn't work for your marriage, don't do it. But the principle was honesty and transparency.
Yep.
So if I can't be honest and transparent, most likely we're not going to get a resolution to the situation.
Right.
It's not going to get resolved. So in what she's saying, at least if you can't just say how it is in your head, but at least be honest and transparent, open about how you feel about it, one, and what you're saying. What's the issue specific to the issue? I think we decided that that is one of the principles that I was going to mention. In marriage. All marriages must have great communication.
Yep.
You must have great communication, and great communication is identified by how transparent you can be, and how honest you can be, and how clearly you can state the need or desire, right?
Now, mind you, we were learning these lessons without being taught. We kind of stumbled into it.
into
Or we'll say God led us into it.
He did.
We say that in retrospect we can look, but when we were going through it, we were stumbling. We were stumbling through it. But I'll say that as we mature more, we begin to realize God's design for our marriage.
Yeah.
So with the lessons that we learn unintentionally, intentionally in marriage, we finally begin to realize what God said marriage is.
Right.
The author of marriage. So, so despite what we've learned, what we've seen, what we've experienced, what we've seen from our families, we were able to say, okay, God, show us what you mean. Show us what marriage is. Show us what we're supposed to do with this. Because we'd be like, well, we made it one more year. So show us what we're supposed to do with this to do it right. And then that's what we began to learn. And he had to take us to the beginning.
He did. And I think, too, before we even get to the point to where we can communicate that way, we had to make a decision.
We had to make a decision.
And that decision was, we're married and we're going to be married. We decided to be married, right?
Said, I ain't going nowhere.
I ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. And that was a decision to be married. Mm-hmm. And I think all marriages require that. It requires those two things. Decision to be married, that is your decision, your foundation decision, because God joined you to. We decide to agree with God in that. And then two, we're going to come regardless.
So when we made that decision, then I think that's where we kind of got out of the way of ourselves and things that we've learned. We even said to each other, and remember, we said to each other, we're going to forget about what you've seen, we're going to forget about what I've seen, and we're going to do what's best for our marriage. And sometimes you have to do that. You got to say, okay, all the expectations that I've seen, all the expectations that you've seen, we got to get rid of them. And we got to do what God wants us to do for our marriage. Because we tend to, when you do that, when you say, well, this is what I expected. Like you expected me to come home from work and do all of this stuff. And you boys did this stuff, girls did this stuff. And I was expecting we were working together and everything. Well, essentially what we were doing was punishing each other for not being raised how the other person was.
Sure.
You can't hold me accountable because I wasn't raised like you. I can't hold you accountable because you weren't raised like me. And so that begins to be a tension in marriage because it's like, well, why don't you already know this?
Right.
And it's like, because I wasn't there.
That's my way you're there.
Right.
I mean, everybody does this. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
It does not.
No, they don't. And I think that like young married couples, the quicker they learn that part, the better their communication can begin to develop. At least, and when I say the better their communication can begin to develop, because it really opens your mindset to say, okay, God, we just rest in your hands. How do you want us to do this? What is the vision you want for our marriage? And I think that really speaks to two things, that the scripture in Genesis 2:18, where God made Adam a helpmeet, someone that was suitable, compatible. It wasn't somebody that, hey, let me tell you what to do. Right. No, because if you have a partner, they're suitable, they're compatible to help you. I think of if you had a remote with batteries.
Right.
Your batteries are your help me. You're suitable and compatible. Your remote ain't gonna work without the batteries.
Correct.
And then your remote not saying, look here, batteries. Now this is what we about to do.
Right.
No, you work together, the partnership. And we were talking about earlier, like what that must have looked like. Because Adam had, he had already named everything.
He did all the work.
He already did all the
groundwork anyway.
Yeah, he did that part. So then when Eve came, I mean, they were working in the garden. He wasn't like, all right, I did all this, now you go over there and do that. No, they worked together
to maintain what God has
provided for them.
And it's a good example of the battery and the remote. Very good analogy. I like that, because in that scripture, the Bible talks about how Eve was taken from the rib, the side of Adam, and that rib actually means cell. It's actually like stem cell from the bone marrow, life-giving, life-powering source of a man is his wife.
Yep.
Your power comes from the wife. That's right. That's why he called her the Ezer, right?
Yep. The helper.
The helper, the one that, just like the Holy Spirit, is like what? Ezer. He helps us in the time of need with his power, not just with action, not just with things and doing stuff, but he has the power to make sure things are taken care of. And I think a wife is the same way. And the batteries, although they were created for powering the remote, they were made for that purpose, but without the batteries, the remote is useless.
Yep.
So they're useless by themselves, but together they can turn the TV on.
They're compatible for each other.
Exactly.
Yes.
And same thing in marriage. When we make a decision, I talked about this in the husband's corner. When we make a decision as husbands to use the power source that comes from our side and put her there on our side. God has not told women to be under our feet.
No.
We're not ruling over our wives. He told us she's supposed to be, the Bible says, heirs with us in this grace of life, or our life of grace. She's heir with you. That means co-heir, equal heir to the grace of life.
Yep.
So that is, once a man realized that part, he is now able to be empowered to see some things happen in the garden for them. And the wife can enjoy that with him. I just think we in marriages need to begin to really articulate that part to where it's like you said, we're equal, we're partners, and without one another, we're not as useful. Not useless, but we're not as useful. And we need to come together in agreement and oneness and understand, hey, this is God's daughter, I am God's son, and I must treat her that way. And begin to operate in that way. And also, I was thinking about when you was talking about how we are as a couple in the garden, how Adam and Eve were just not just doing things, but they were doing stuff in agreement.
Agreement is a big thing in marriage. And sometimes when you think about who taught you about marriage, going back to what you've seen growing up, like you may have seen that agreement. I mean, right. I didn't really see that because of the way our household ran. And it was like, if it had to get done, it just got done.
Right.
Period. So
your household was more hustle driven. Right?
Yes. Yep.
My household was more, I won't say planning, but each part did their part. And it was planned out. So my mom was a very good planner. My mom was very good at organizing. My mom was very good at budgeting. My dad was very good at providing. That's his thing. He provided.
Everybody had their little box.
Everybody had their little box, and it all fit together. And so in marriage, you need some of that.
You do.
But you don't only need that.
You need some of that, but your box might not look like everybody else's box.
Right.
You may fit together in your own unique way. And that's the importance of having God as a foundation in your marriage, because it may work. It may work different ways, and it may change as your marriage grows and matures. Like I know with us, when we started off, it was kind of like us. Once we figured it out that we have to work together, we have to work together. But it changed when we had children.
That's just true.
Because when we had children, it was like, we can't afford daycare.
Traditional roles flip.
Or it flipped like something else because daycare was expensive. So we were like, okay, well, I'll stay home you stayed home in the daytime with the kids.
That's how the roles flip.
So you're right. Either
you were the provider then.
I can't. Well, yeah. I kind of was, because you stayed home with the kids because we couldn't afford daycare, But then at night, you would go out and you would work the night shift.
Right. And that's when we started the business. Right.
No, it was way before then, though.
No. When we had, you talking about when we had Regina and Mia, and I was driving around getting numbers.
Oh, yeah, you were.
I was at home.
We were just starting. We said we had to do something.
And I couldn't work at night.
Nope, you couldn't work at night. I mean, you couldn't work in the daytime.
Right, I couldn't work in the daytime, that's right. I couldn't work in the daytime, so I had to work at night.
Yeah. And you had other night jobs that you did not do. You were like, no, you're not doing that. You're not doing that. It's amazing the things, and it's amazing the things that God calls you into, and you don't know what the
why you're doing that job.
Why you're doing it. Because you guys, in college, before we even had kids, when we were in college, we were married. Well, of course, we were married. But we had like this
probably 2 years in, right?
Yeah, we had this. Well, about a year, and we had this cute little 1-bedroom apartment, and we had to work to pay rent. You know, the refund check couldn't pay for them. But it was like you learned how to strip and wax floors and do all of this stuff. And then when it was time to leave that job, because then we had our first child, it was like, I need to work more. You worked at a grocery store, and it's like all these little different skills you were picking up, skills that I were picking up. It's like, why? And then as we grew in our marriage, as we just matured in life, as God began to downpour us, this is what I want you guys to do. It's like, dang, everything I learned throughout the years, I'm actually using now. That is wild.
And you can go right back to it.
You can go right back to it and pick it right back up.
Yeah.
But our roles did flip when we started to have kids, and it was like, okay, I'll go out and work in the daytime because of just and it wasn't a thing of, well, I'm just gonna do this and that. It was just how the economy was too. It was like I made more money.
We did the math.
What I did.
Yeah, you made more money.
You worked at night to bring up the rear, and it was a thing of our partnership coming into hand.
Yes.
So.
And you not necessarily looking at me like you're less than because I bring in all the money, pay most of the bills,
right?
And you're just taking care of the kids during the day,
right?
Yep. So, and even though I'm out at night, so that means I'm getting less sleep, but I'm doing something. But it wasn't bringing in what was needed to take care of the household. So it was like you said, a partnership of understanding partnership, to where I understand your contribution, you understand my contribution, because I understood. She needs to rest in order to get to this job. So anything I did at night, I had to make sure that I get home in time enough for you to be able to get up and go get the kids ready so you can get ready to go to work. And at that time we had one car.
Yeah. Oh, we had one car.
So I'm driving you literally to work, staying in the area, as we said, getting numbers, trying to get information. But it was a partnership of understanding. And I think that part is missing a lot. And even when people decide to say, all right, I'm not going to look at what my parents did, or I'm not going to look at my past, I'm going to do this. You agree with that? Yeah, I agree with this. And then once you get into the nuance and the mundane of doing that, you start looking at your partner like, well, you're not doing as much. We did fall in some of that a little bit. You're not doing as much as I am. And I think that when the kids got older, we kind of got into that to where it was like, what you doing? That's what she used to tell me. What are you doing? I'm like, working. What you doing? With mom at IHOP.
Yeah.
And I get my work. What are you talking? She's like, but the bills aren't being paid, so we need more. And
I need you to step it up.
I need you to step it up a little bit. I'm like, look, actually, I make more than you. And it came this competition.
Yep.
Until we understood
this competition. Because I think at that point in marriage, we were kind of just doing this thing of the blame game.
Yeah.
We were doing the blame game. But we had to quickly realize that was not carrying us anywhere. Because we couldn't hear, we couldn't understand like what was happening in our marriage. Like why are we still on this rat wheel or this hamster wheel of paycheck to paycheck? Almost not enough. It's like, I know you got better for us.
Right. Yeah, and we learned in learning that, respecting, like I said, respecting partnership. We also learned that in our communication style.
We did.
So it was not more. It was less of I'm gonna say how I feel to get it out, so you can understand how much this means to me. To more of it, my goal is to be clear on what I need, while understanding how you will feel.
Right.
In receiving this information.
Right.
Kind of not like now where we're at, where it's more so I'll hesitate and I'll go to God and say, well, Lord, did she mean to speak to me this way? Or did she mean it this way? And God will then be able to help me understand, oh, this is how she's feeling. This is what she's thinking. This is what she's going through.
Because you can easily fall into those old things that you saw growing up.
Yes.
You can easily fall back into that when you get into things like the blame game, get into things like not listening to each other. You can easily go into, I ain't gotta take that.
Right.
Because my mama ain't do that.
Yeah,
my daddy did this all the time, and my mama did this. We got into some of that too.
Oh yeah, we got into.
I remember when I cook. Okay, let me preface this by saying I cook very well now. I could get into that, but in the beginning,
you cooked very well back then.
I did, but I didn't cook. I didn't cook soul food. I didn't know how.
Exactly.
And so I was trying to cook some soul food for him, and then he came in with my mama don't cook it like that. Ooh, and I tell you, I didn't.
It was black eyed peas.
Black eyed peas.
It was black eyed peas.
It took me probably about 8 years to cook black eyed peas again, because I was like, go to your mama house then. It was something that I tell y'all. We had to learn how to communicate with each other.
We did. And part of that communication is learning how to receive what your spouse is saying. So we had to learn that, okay, she may have said this upsetting, or maybe it seemed to be disrespectful, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's why I said going to God, and God said, well, that ain't what she meant. This is what's going on. This is what she meant. Mm-hmm. Now, what you need to do is talk to her about it, be specific and clear about it, but empathetic to her concern as well, and why she's responding this way. That's true communication. That's true understanding partnership. Yep. That's how you keep that foundation of, we're going to be married and we're going to communicate honest, open, and transparent.
Because I will say, despite what you've seen in your past, what you've seen from your family, or what you may have experienced if you've been married before, you can learn and have a healthy, grace-filled marriage.
Yeah.
Because it all, like you said in the beginning, takes a decision.
It does.
A decision to have God as the foundation, a decision to say, okay, let's confer with the Word and make that final decision after we prayed about it and after we got in the Word about it, and then come together and talk about it. And sometimes you might need to phone a friend, a good friend.
Oh yeah,
to do that.
Good married couples around you that will be honest, and that's the key though, the honesty and transparency part. Marriage is, if you're phony about it and you're putting up with stuff that and going along to get along so you don't rock the boat type mentality, and you're doing that, it won't be long before you're disgusted, fed up, and call it quits, because you're not being honest and open.
And I think a conversation like this about who taught you about marriage is a good conversation to have early in your marriage, because then you can really explore some of the things that you now realize that might not be so healthy in doing in your marriage. Like, it might not be. You begin to realize, well, maybe it's not healthy to hold my tongue all the time, or not say what I feel all the time, because I don't want to rock the boat. Because those type of things build resentment.
Correct.
Or on the flip side of it, maybe I don't need to say everything at the top of my head at that one time.
Correct.
Maybe I need to pray about it first before I say what I want to say. So it gives you a chance to really examine yourself, personally what you've seen and examine your expectations. Are they realistic or unrealistic?
Well, and I just thinking about one last thing I would say about who taught you marriage. I think if there was another a third thing I would say that every marriage needs is an attitude of service.
Yes.
If everybody was focused on how I can serve you better, not how I can get served better, but how I can serve my wife or my husband better.
Right.
And that's your attitude. Your communication style would be reflective of service.
Yep.
It will be reflective of how they will feel receiving it. It will be reflective of, if I hold this in, how is that going to help them be better at being a spouse?
Well, that's part of that, being a adaptable and suitable help to your spouse. Is service.
Right.
You serving each other.
Yeah.
If batteries were sitting there by itself, the remote they ain't gonna do nothing. The remote, so you work together.
Right.
And I think a lot of times married couples can get caught up in, seem like I'm the only one doing this, or seem like I'm the only one doing that. Well, it's because you start with the capital I. I'm doing this. Let's look at your motivation. Let's look at your expectations. Let's look at your surroundings of what's going on. And let's step back and examine, okay, what do I need to do to fix my attitude towards this? And if I am doing the brunt of it and I am frustrated, Holy Spirit, give me the right words to bring this up to my spouse.
Right.
So that we can talk about it.
Because it's not helping them to become a better spouse if they don't know that what they're doing or not doing is not serving you.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
So that's a good question.
That is a very good question.
Who taught you about marriage? So we want to hear what you guys have to say. So, like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Who taught you about marriage? Give us a couple of examples of some of the things that you may have thought or expected in marriage. And let's talk it out in the comments.
Yeah, and ask yourself those 3 questions. Did we make a decision to be married? Number 2, are we willing to communicate in a way that is supportive and sharing and transparent and honest? And number 3, are we really serving one another? Is that our goal? And ask yourself that question. And then
I remember one unhealthy thing that I learned in marriage. It's a little bonus. One unhealthy thing I learned is, I remember when I was talking to my mom about us getting married. And she said, well, just make sure you take care of you and y'all kids. And I was like, okay. I don't know if that's right, but I'll take that little tidbit. And I didn't realize that I started operating like that. Even when we had kids, unconsciously, because that's all I saw, is her taking care of us, her kids,
right,
and not worrying about anything else. So I was like, wow, okay, maybe that was not the best advice.
Not at all.
But share with us who taught you about marriage. And until next time, we will explore another marriage myth.
Yes.
On the Miseducation of Marriage every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
In our brand new set.
Yes.
We'll see you then.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.